I'm just looking at the scenario. You do know that sometimes when you go abroad to get a SIM card, you have to look for a phone shop. You know, if you don't find a proper phone shop, and when you're about to purchase the SIM card, they insist on registration.
Yeah.
You know, unlike what we have here, where you find hawkers, you know, selling SIM cards. Some people will say that we are not yet as sophisticated as, you know, all phone companies being able to have a shop in every corner, you know, so that they can sell SIM cards. And what happens in places like the rural areas where, you know, but perhaps there's no excuse. Do you think that is something that we can encourage, that there have to be proper shops as you're selling SIM cards, that registration is being done at once?
There must be proper shop for people to register because, like you said, overseas, if you want to register, you produce your passport.
If you're a foreigner.
If you're a foreigner, you produce your passport or your means of identification. They cannot give you a SIM card without proper identification. And it can be abused, like in rural areas, where people will just come and give you any name. But there must be a name on it. There must be a name on it.
There must be a face to it.
There must be a face to it.
Fingerprints as well.
Exactly. So it didn't take time when these SIM cards were registered. And it doesn't take more than 3 minutes for you to get registered. So I don't know why people... the onus now, it lies on the NCC to ensure, like I continue to repeat, strict compliance. Because if you don't get this done, the fight against terrorism will be made more difficult for the security agencies.
You know, this other matter, I mean, because when we talk about it, certain people gloss over it. This question of security votes, security funds that come year in, year out, different political dispensations come, and they keep telling you can't ask questions about certain security votes. Do you think that should change?
Well, I wouldn't think it should change because...
even though we're in a critical situation?
Security is expensive. Maintenance of security is quite expensive. And for chief security officers, if you want to subject them to bureaucratic process of accessing funds, it becomes a major challenge. But the issue is that it must be utilized for the purpose it's meant for. And there's no way you can do that. It's left for the conscience of the operator or the chief security officer to know whether he's using the funds for what they are meant for.
The other part, which Marcus spoke about earlier on, I see Realman saying here that all sorts of people are coming to Gombe as refugees. This is a serious challenge. And so many people are also talking about what they see happening in their states, people moving in droves, getting certain areas. And I could be wrong, but it doesn't look as though there's a coordinated attempt to see what can be done, maybe in support or with support from the federal government to states concerning people who are internally displaced. Is that not another matter that may just spiral out of control if we don't start doing something about it now?
No, I think I answered that question. You know, the victim support program by Mr. President.
Yeah, you talked about that, but I
Yes.
mean, a lot of people many people don't know the status. I mean, the last we heard was that it was being inaugurated, funds were being raised. We don't know how far they've gone raising funds. Have they started disbursing the funds? But it would seem that the funds that, whatever funds they've raised now, you know, the attention is needed in this particular situation with the IDPs.
Well, I'm not saying on point of authority, but I know that it could take a little time for the government to harness its resources for that purpose. For instance, some people made donations, maybe they've not been redeemed, so the government should work on the funds available. I should expect the government, because of the issues you've raised now, to make a statement on the procedure or processes of looking into the issue of internally displaced persons with this victim support.
Perhaps too. In the meantime, NEMA should also step in.
NEMA has been working. You are aware that NEMA has been going to such areas to take care of the refugees.
Well, this, I'm trying to see his name. He says Soldier Boy. That's what his Twitter handle reads here. He says to let you know that 80% of drivers in the north don't have driving license or papers for their vehicles. Motorcycles don't even have plate numbers. And then this is a question that really needs to be addressed by those concerned.
I agree entirely with that submission. It's very, very, in fact, you know, it's a challenge, a very big challenge. I agree entirely with the submission. But again, you look at the people who are to enforce it. Roadblocks have been abolished by the police, even though you still have some skeletal, that's not their responsibility. The vehicle inspection officers should ensure, most importantly, the issues of whether somebody has a driver's license or not. It's important that you have a driver, but people driving vehicles and motorcycles without registration numbers. And this way these insurgents take advantage because they cannot be traced. But if the vehicles are registered or with plate numbers or motorcycles in particular, is very, very critical.
Okay, let's get this before we close. I mean, yes, anybody can say, you could criticize, just as you said, you said there's nothing you do that will not be criticized. Even the way we go about all of this, security will be criticized. But are we doing enough for our security officials in this country? The police, the SSS, the military, even, what's this other one now? NSCDC. We have so many of this, but how are we funding them? Are we checking, double checking, putting all those processes in place to ensure that they turn out to do the fine professional job that they were there to do in the first place, without all of these phone calls, this is my brother, you have to put him in this position, and those kind of matters?
Well, you see, the issue of security, like you raised, is very, very critical in terms of contribution of various arms, the government, the people, and the agencies themselves. I'll tell you that this government has taken the issue of security more seriously than any other government, past governments, in terms of funding. But whether it's sufficient is the issue. We've had a lot of challenges, backlog of security challenges. Like I said, when we started, our effort was grounded at a time. They need to be rehabilitated and reinforced.
Okay, so let me jump here because we have to go. That committee that you were in, that submitted the report, what's happening?
Part of the recommendations are being implemented by government, I think so. There's the Chibok girls. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can see meetings. The president has met with some of the parents and the girls at the villa. So I believe that government is implementing.
Are you hopeful on their return?
Why not?
All right, Michael Ejiofor is a former director with the DSS. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back after this break. Join us again.